That was the Eclipse. Sundown. Dancing Bear. These are all nicknames that came up yesterday that either have been given to Deone Walker or we have tried to get started for Deone Walker. Good morning. It's Jeremy and Joe. Jeremy is off today. We're going to talk more about Deone Walker in a moment. You might be down at the stadium. Saw fans are already lining up. Gates are open. 6:30 they opened up for the open practice today at 8:30. We'll carry Jim Leonard at 8, and then Sal will join at 9 from the stadium. So we'll see what's going on there, and we'll see practice through the eyes of the fans there and through Sal, so we'll know what's happening, and we'll have that coming up in the next hour. Now, though, on the Westher hotline, we go to Anthony Prohaska from Cover One, Disguise Coverage, and you probably know him if you're on Bill's Twitter. Anthony, thanks for coming on today. Excited to chat with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So, by the way, on Deone Walker, any nicknames there that you like for Walker?
The Eclipse made me laugh immediately.
All right.
Dancing Bear is good. I feel like that gets used like as a way to just talk about any agile big man. I feel like that's used across like multiple players and leagues. I can't even say the Eclipse without laughing. That's good.
Right. It's the teammates gave him Sundown because of the similar thing. So that might be some potential there. Well, let's start with him. You did your recent episode of Disguise Coverage on his game on Saturday against the Panthers, and I think there is the preseason pledge, Anthony, which is don't take everything from one game, but we were building towards this, I feel like, with Walker in his rookie season, even before that, if you want, as the draft prospect, and then this offseason. So how impressive to you was Walker's performance on Saturday?
I think he had a strong game. And to your point, I think he's one of the focal players for this season because he's tied into the scheme change and Jim Leonard, and then there wasn't really a lot of additions made on the interior there, and the whole nose tackle conversation and the run defense from the year prior and how he fits into that as a rookie last year. So it was easy to kind of have him under the microscope and in the spotlight. And I mean, it's hard to have a better start where first play of the game, he comes out, run stop, and then it just felt like play after play. I thought he was responsible in his assignments. The quickness that he showed, the agility, I mean, the dancing bear reference that you made, just that movement, that quickness at that size, but then also him showing that he can hold up at the point of attack a little bit. There's multiple reps in that game, and I showed him in my episode that you referenced where he's playing, a gap and a half responsibility. He's playing more react attack where he's getting helmet screws on helmet screws of a guard, and he sees the double from the center come in, and he dips his shoulder and changes his surface area a little. So there was a lot to like and get excited about. And Carolina was missing their two starting guards, and it is the preseason, so I'm still not ready to go, full throttle yet with what he could be. But it was an extremely, extremely encouraging start for him within this defense.
Right. The caliber of competition wasn't all the way up for Walker on Saturday. How much, though, like some of those plays that you mentioned, him getting in the backfield around the guards and making plays to stop the run, is that even bigger for you than – I feel like coming into the league, it was the size might make it feel like he's this run plugger that's going to eat up blocks, but that's not necessarily what he was at Kentucky. Do we feel like, though, Saturday he was showing some of that? Like, if they're going to be better against the run, he is going to be a big part of that.
Yeah, 1,000%. If they're going to succeed against the run, Deone Walker is going to be a huge part of it. It's really the interior guys, whether we're talking about the odd front aspect or the even front aspect. I think at this point, we all know Greg Rousseau's a really good run defender off the edge. I think Chubb is in a similar boat. I don't have questions with Hoyt there, even TJ Parker, but it's on the interior, right? Like, can Ed Oliver stay healthy? What are you going to get from Deone Walker? What do you get from TJ Sanders? What do you get from Landon Jackson? Those kind of four from that aspect, whether you don't get interior, odd front, or even front. And I think what Walker was doing on Saturday against Carolina was more of the penetration aspect of his game, which I think we already knew he could do. And you hit it on the head. Him coming out of Kentucky, you see him at the size that he's at, and you think, oh, my God, like, this guy is a mountain of a man. He's probably impossible to move. He probably sits and hunkers down. And it's like, no, he is a dancing bear. His game is a finesse game, and I don't mean that negatively. His game is more movement-based and penetration-based, and that's how he did get his run stops in this game. It was, slanting on the second one. It was beating his man and penetrating, quickness off the snap, agility, burst, good get-off. I thought he also timed that very well with reading the cadence of the snap with the center, reading the guard's communication to the center, reading the center, and timing his get-off really well. And I think as we go forward, it is going to be more of, what happens if he gets double teams and guys run at him and they try to get under him and push him and displace him. I still think there's, the questionable aspect there, not necessarily in a bad way, but just because we haven't seen it fully. But I think more of what he did against Carolina was more of the penetration, more of the finesse aspect, while showing some flashes that he can hold at the point of attack, which is really encouraging.
Yeah. Anthony from Cover One is with us on the Wester Hotline. How much does he make you think the Bills don't need to make a big swing for Vita Vea? Mike Garafolo reported over the weekend the Bills had called about Vea. That shouldn't be totally surprising, but that they had called about him. And how different do you see those player styles even being, playing a very similar position?
This one's so tough for me because I personally have loved Vita Vea for so long. I feel like a lot of people have. He's a bit of a unicorn in his own right. Like, he is built like a plugger, and he can play a plugger's role, but he's also very athletic. He gets pressures. He gets in the backfield. He is a bit of a unicorn. In an ideal world, from a financial perspective and a salary cap perspective, I would have preferred them just to get, kind of the run-based plugger rotational guy in free agency on a cheaper deal, have him play behind Deone Walker, but know that you've kind of got that rotational aspect there. Like, I didn't need a top six forward at nose with Deone Walker. I would have taken a middle six or even a bottom six, but I just wanted that role. I wanted that aspect present. But it's hard to not get excited for someone like Vita Vea because he is a unicorn. And what's also nice is if you say you got Vita Vea, you can then take Deone Walker and kick him to that 4-eye spot in some of your odd front looks, or pair them both together because Walker is a penetration guy and he can be in your even front stuff, and Vita Vea can be at the 1-tech or be at a shade, and Deone Walker can be at the 3. And if you really want to get crazy, you can start to tap into some of the stuff they did with him at Kentucky, which has moved him all around the line, where he's lined up on the outside shoulder of a tackle or sometimes even wider. I don't think it's a complete necessity. I would still like to see that role present, whether it was, more of a depth guy or a top-tier guy like Vita Vea. I just think it gives them so much more flexibility in terms of how offenses are going to attack them.
Right. That 4-eye spot, by the way, I thought it was interesting on Saturday that Landon Jackson got as much run as he did. I don't know how you've seen that position going into the year, but I was not thinking – I thought Jackson would be a rotational piece, but not maybe the first guy that would be out there.
It's interesting because he played some of that role at Arkansas in college. Granted, it was a bit different because he's playing it at Arkansas, but you're facing more spread offenses in college. So it is a 4-eye from that alignment, but you're not necessarily getting the run looks and the run concepts that you're going to see in the NFL. But he has familiarity in that aspect, and that plus his play style, I thought this move could actually suit him better than what he was in Sean McDermott's defense. And part of this for me comes from I don't like guys that are high cut like him, and that plus some of the questions with his lower body flexibility. I wondered what he could be at edge, but this is a dude that likes to play physical. He's mean, he's long, he's violent. He's got some experience at that 4-eye spot. So as soon as Leonard came in, I said it early on in February, I was like, this might really help Landon Jackson because he can kick into that 4-eye. And then his only competition there, competition in quotes, is really, TJ Sanders. But this is a whole new world for TJ Sanders. And so I thought Jackson kind of had the leg up from an experience standpoint and then from the play style standpoint as well. And one of those guys needs to lock that spot down because if you cannot have that spot can't be a hole. Otherwise, your odd front looks are going to be really questionable. So it's nice to see him feeling comfortable and getting some burn there, and we'll see if he can stick with it.
Yeah. Learning all these new positions, by the way, with the Bills this year. Would you call Ed Oliver the same position as those guys right now? Listening to your episode yesterday, when they're in their eagle front, as you called it, maybe they're in the same, but in other spots they're not? Or would you say they are kind of the same position?
Yeah, it depends on how they're going to align. The Eagle front reference you made, so it's very similar to, Jim Leonard's defense at Wisconsin was a tight front. So you had that zero tech, that nose tackle right on the center, and then your two, defensive ends, quote unquote, were each at a 4-eye, so that inside shoulder of the tackle. Mm-hmm. The Eagle front, you essentially just pull the nose into more of a one tech, so he's in a shade, and then you grab the other 4-eye and put him in a shade on the outside shoulder of the guard, so at a 3-tech spot. That is where Ed Oliver has lived before. We know that, 3-tech and Sean McDermott's defense, but because you are in the odd front, there can be a difference from a spacing standpoint and responsibility standpoint. I would kind of bucket all of them together. Like I kind of blanket call them the 4-eyes or the 3-4 defensive ends anytime. And so I do think it's Ed, Sanders, Landon Jackson. Let's throw Zane Durant in there as well. That's kind of what you're looking at those, the quote unquote 4-eyes from the out front. And then once you get into even stuff, it's regular stuff we've seen from the previous years.
Anthony from Cover One with us on the Western Hotline. Also from Saturday, Anthony, and big picture too, I'm very interested in how the secondary is going to shape up here. And they're dealing with some injuries there, which of course is also giving opportunity for like Igbinosun to play and Walker and others. What did you see from Saturday? I felt like your feed, it was defensive back after defensive back making a really strong play. That could say a lot about Jim Leonard too, but how good of a day was it for that position group, do you think, against Carolina?
I thought it was a good day, mainly from a mental standpoint and a coach reflection standpoint. There were a couple miscommunications, which I not to give it a pass, but you chalk that up. It's the first game. It's a new system. Things happen. But more often than not, you were seeing from the first teamers, the second teamers, the third teamers, like top to bottom, you were seeing everybody relay checks and relay communication. We're getting motion from Carolina that's changing from changing the offense from a 3-by-1 to a 2-by-2 or a 2-by-2 to a 3-by-1. We're getting multiple aspects of that. We're getting resets, and you're watching, Christian Benford and the guys on the first unit communicate that and relay that. But you're also getting that from like Toriano Pride down with the third teamers, and him and Jordan Hancock communicating with each other in the second half. Pre-snap, post-snap. It got me really excited for what this defense could be and what I hoped it would be under Jim Leonard. And you expect, with his pedigree, his knowledge, what he's been, and the position he played and how hands-on he is with the DBs, I expected them to do well, and their performance in week one definitely did not do anything to push me off that.
Overall on the defense Saturday, how much do you feel like Leonard showed? Like how vanilla was it versus like this is some of the stuff we're actually going to see in the regular season?
I think pretty vanilla. We didn't get a lot from, 5-man pressure packages. We didn't get a lot from creepers or simulated pressures, which is still, 4-down rushes. You're just changing, dropping a traditional rusher and bringing a non-traditional rusher. We didn't see a lot of, attacking the formation or playing certain rules. We didn't see a lot of the matchup stuff or him kind of get in his bag. I think we saw some breadcrumbs towards, what kind of coverages he may lean into or what some checks might be. That's one thing I'm going to continue to look at. If teams switch from a 3-by-1 to a 2-by-2 or vice versa, do we continue to see the same calls? That could be something to tie into. But I think as far from like a creativity standpoint or what else does he have in the bag, I think we haven't even scratched the surface yet. I think he's going to keep a lot of that close to the vest and then wield that throughout the regular season. But also because he is so matchup based, that could also fluctuate week to week. We could see stuff in week 1 against the Texans that's really creative. We might not see that again until like week 7 or 8 because he's so matchup focused.
Anthony Prohaska from Cover One with us. All right, let's fill our wide receiver quota on the show here with you. It felt like a good day on Saturday for many guys. DJ Moore was obviously the headliner. I was very interested, Anthony, in where Coleman was lining up, though. Like, we saw a lot of slot snaps for him. He was in motion. And, like, Shakir, too, like, it felt, I don't know, like, different in some ways than what I feel like we were accustomed to last year with that group. And that's not even, again, talking about how good DJ Moore was.
Yeah, 1,000%. I think even with Shakir right away, my favorite rep of his, it's a slot formation. So you've got the 2 tight ends to the right and then Shakir's in the slot to the left, and I forget who the receiver is outside of him, but Carolina's in base, and so it essentially puts Shakir in the slot one-on-one with one of Carolina's linebackers, and it's play action. He's going, I run it over, he just turns inside out, back out towards the side, and is wide open. And that play message for him to see that ball downfield, work at the intermediate, and Keon, funny, one of my biggest for the receiver, and this is probably so.
Hey, Anthony, I'm going to cut you off here. We're going to try to reconnect with you really quickly. The play Anthony was describing, though, about Shakir there, I also noticed that immediately, which was Shakir against a linebacker. If you ever get that matchup, that's when the guy looks like, okay, he can run any route down the field, and you're not going to be able to cover him. At least not with that linebacker. Maybe there's like a couple in the league. Maybe if it's Fred Warner. But for the most part, so much of the league is also that these days, like McVay. I feel like McVay's whole trick is actually I'm just going to do everything designed to get my receiver against your linebacker. And if I can do that, then I'm going to throw for 400 yards in a game, or Cooper Kupp is going to go for 2,000 yards. So you did see some of that from Shakir on Saturday, and Joe Brady, again, getting that as a matchup. And you need them to be in base, right? You need them to be in 3 linebackers to make that even easier. So I thought really strong day from the receivers overall. Moore, of course. We didn't talk a ton about him yesterday, even though he was maybe the best part of the day for many.
It was very exciting, that's for sure. But isn't it maybe just because that's been the story the whole time?
That's where I'm at.
It's just like, okay, that's just what they've been doing, so what do you know?
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of people probably just want to see it happen in the regular season before they get too excited. I know that's kind of how I'm feeling.
Yeah. I mean,
I love the idea, but
I'm willing to get excited about him because he's a veteran.
Right.
And I heard Matt Hasselbeck on this yesterday talking about how much easier it can be for a quarterback and a veteran receiver to get on the same page immediately versus a rookie and a veteran quarterback. So there was some of that as well. Anthony back here on the Western Hotline. We lost you a little bit in there, Anthony, but going through that Shakir rep and him one-on-one with a linebacker.
Yeah, it was just great to see him get put into a mismatch creation situation. It stems from the personnel the Bills were in, how Carolina chose to match it, and then where they align Shakir. Mm-hmm. And Shakir's usage, Keon Coleman's usage, Josh Palmer's usage, so much of it obviously comes from a pass standpoint, but I also think something that's interesting to note, and we started to see a little bit of it in this first game against Carolina, but who do they choose to fill the Mac Hollins run blocking role and the Tyrell Shavers, I guess, from last year run blocking role? That receiver who is going to get a bunch of snaps, who's going to be close, hipped off the tight end, close to the formation, that person who's inserting and blocking on duo, but is also used in the pass game. In theory, Keon Coleman would be the guy for that with his size and frame and physicality. And Shakir last year showed that he could block a little bit. And so if you get both of those guys on the field with their blocking ability and then some of the pass catching stuff, it really starts to open up. And I think it gives Coleman a strong opportunity to succeed. And that's how we started to see him used more against Carolina, combined with getting some slot reps. So instead of just, like you alluded to, instead of just putting him outside one-on-one as the X, they got him into some more advantageous situations where you can play off of his skill set and not have to put him in isolated spots.
Isn't he really the only guy that makes a lot of sense for who they would want to be that guy? Because or are they trying to make Palmer into that? Palmer has been so injured throughout his career and the frame isn't quite the same. So I guess it could be him, but I've bet all along that guy, they want that guy to be Coleman at least.
Yeah, I would agree. I think they want that guy to be Coleman just from an investment standpoint as well. Granted, they paid Palmer a decent chunk of change, but they feel more committed to Keon. And if you are looking at both guys, this isn't to say, Palmer isn't a willing run blocker or is a slouch in that regard. But yeah, Keon Coleman is, part of his appeal coming out was, this receiver who is like a power forward at the receiver spot and can go up and dunk on corners and so on and so forth. And you would like that to also translate to the run game. You've got this big-bodied, thicker receiver. He should be able to mash corners, mash nickels, mash safeties, even maybe provide some physicality towards some regular box players like an outside linebacker at times. And you look at, exactly like you said, how he's built and how Palmer's built, you would think that advantage should be with Keon Coleman, given his stature, given his play style, given his frame.
Last thing for you, Anthony, before we let you go. I got a caller in the first hour asking about the tackles struggling on Saturday against Carolina and relating that to the opener against Houston. And my attitude was basically, I'm not going to be worried about these two after a preseason game. I would be worried about Houston no matter who I was. And given what we saw last year, do you expect Joe Brady and the Bills to do it totally different? How they protect Allen, how they deal with Hunter and Anderson in that game? Or I guess the only way they wouldn't be different is if Brady just thinks they were both hurt in that game, and if they were healthy, then it would have went better than it did.
That's the exact question. Like, does he still feel, well, Spencer Brown had one arm last year, and that caused a huge problem off the right side, or does he play it off to that, or does he have an adjustment? I think we'll see more of an adjustment. We started even, again, not to pull too much from the Carolina game, but seeing more formations in this Carolina game where you've got the running back and the tight end hipped off of each tackle, and they're chipping the edge players and then releasing out into the flat or over the middle as kind of outlets or check down options. I think we'll see more of that worked in. Joe Brady, at the end of the day, wants to get as many people out into the route distribution as possible. He wants to get 5 out. So if he can just do 5-man protections, he will do that. But he doesn't have to get to it outright. He can use the tight ends and the backs to chip help a little bit, jam some guys up off the edge. I think we'll see that mixed in against Houston. And then based on how we get some kind of one-on-one, some true one-on-one sprinkled in, he'll play it off that. I don't think he's going to come out and just feed him to the wolves and see what happens. He's got to have some kind of additional protection plan because they're just so good.
You can follow him on Twitter at pro_Anthony, pro_Ant, and then you can find Disguised Coverage on the Cover One channel on YouTube. Thanks, Anthony, for joining. Love the chat, and we'll catch up soon.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
You too. All 22 review. We'll do a little of that with Joe Marino also tomorrow. You check in with Joe. He's going to be joining us, Wednesdays throughout the year. So do that. And practice is about an hour away, and we do have fans starting to enter the facility. I know that because I have one buddy who is inside the stadium right now, and it's his first time in the stadium. And the pictures of it's not quite a sunrise over the stadium, but you see the day starting to be, like, the sky is starting to brighten up over the stadium as you go hour by hour. The Bills releasing these pictures. It looks nice. I'm jealous. Just go down to the stadium, little morning football. Again, someone tell me what's going on with the concessions down there. I want to know if we got, like, specific breakfast options. Or are we eating nachos at 7:30 in the morning? Not like breakfast nachos.
I could see some breakfast real nachos?
You could do breakfast nachos,
You could
I
easily
guess.
do breakfast nachos. Cheese, egg, sausage, bacon.
That sounds good.
Is that going to be on tortilla chips, though?
Yeah, why not? You eat breakfast burritos, don't you? That's a tortilla.
Yeah.
Just a crunchy tortilla.
Good point.
It's a breakfast taco nacho.
Exactly.
It's really all it is. It's
Yeah.
not that crazy. Honestly, stunning to me. I've never seen something of that like.
I think we need to get it going.
I think maybe
somewhere.
we've come up with something here. Can we delete this from the archives here?
Get it off the
dump
air.
this segment before we lose our idea?
I guess it could already been taken. I mean, it could just be down at the stadium right now.
There's definitely somebody that has breakfast nachos somewhere out there.
Mm-hmm. Our own Brayton Wilson had something over the last day or so that Andre Reed's number 83 being retired might be in the works.
Yeah. I saw Sal said that he heard some rumblings about that as well.
Okay, right. Andre Reed is the Bills' all-time leading receiver by how many yards?
Oh. Man, it's gotta be.
You want me to give you his number?
Sure.
His number is 13,095. How much does that lead second place by in Bills history?
2 2,000 yards.
I'd say like 3,000, 3,500.
4,000.
Oh,
3,999. But 4,000 yards.
Molds is second, right?
Molds is second. And then Lee Evans is third at 5,900.
Right. Wow.
How, I guess I could ask this on the other side. How crazy is it to say, I don't think it's crazy because I kind of believe it, that Diggs is the best receiver in Bills history? It has to be Reed.
I think probably. I mean, I wasn't alive, so I don't know. But
I'm with you there.
I mean, the numbers are pretty staggering. The success is pretty staggering. It's
How long was Andre Reed with the Bills?
16 years. 15 years.
15 years.
a decade and a half.
Think of Diggs, if he kept up the production, even dipped a little bit, like it probably would be.
I don't want to imagine that the guy did the thing when the other guy did the thing.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I can't get to like, well, imagine if Diggs had stayed good for longer. Like, he didn't. Reed did. So Reed's better.
Reed, and this is going to come from somebody that did not watch him live, he was really good for a really long time. You could apply this debate to any sport or Hall of Fame debate or anything you want. Peak versus longevity. Mm-hmm. Reed was really good for a really long time. Diggs was arguably the best in football for a 4-year period. I mean, it is, again, 15 years to 4 years, but 1,000-yard seasons, it's 4-4.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's
4-4.
I think you have to speak to the natural evolution of the position too.
Right.
Like Babe Ruth and Aaron Judge are not going head to head, right? And that's a longer gap. Don't get me wrong, but
I don't know though that I want to give Era as a bonus. I mean, Reed got 155 targets in '89 from the Bills, like 126, 145. Like the Bills were chucking the ball around.
But
they also had Thurm on top of that at that point, which would be like the league was a running league,
right?
And
so
he still did that.
Wouldn't that speak to Reed's really special if he's demanding
he
that
might
many
have
targets
pioneered
in
the
that
modern
era?
Yeah,
like I love Diggs. He's the only Bills jersey I've ever owned. I love Diggs. I really, he's like my favorite guy. But I think Reed has to be better.
All right,
he's one of the pioneering receivers for the modern era.
I don't know that
receiver.
I want to fight about this today. Maybe next July.
4 Super
fight
Bowls.
About this.
I don't know.
When are they? I mean, when would they retire? Would they retire before the new stadium? Like
it could be
the
during the year.
Opening game, maybe.
It could be during the year.
Is that the halftime thing they've secured? They just haven't told anybody.
No, I think that's probably going to be like a real
I know.
performance.
Yeah.
At least I would imagine.
Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to argue for Molds here.
love Molds, but
not quite.
No, what would be the defense? I mean, because
didn't have enough a good quarterback to.
If you're going for, you also could split it. You could say who's the best receiver in Bills history, versus who was the best receiver to play for the Bill. I don't need to go this. Diggs played at a higher level to me than any Bills receiver ever has.
I don't disagree with you.
But you also could say that and still say, I guess Reed is the best receiver in team history.
Yeah, he did it for longer, better,
a lot longer.
Yeah,
triple,
like 3 times as long, and went to 4 Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
And did well in the Super Bowls, if I'm not mistaken. Him, specifically, he was pretty good. I may need to brush up on my history.
I'll give it to you here.
10 years before I was
Reed
alive.
in the 4 Super Bowls. No, you're right. Against the Giants, 8 for 62.
Okay.
Against Washington, 5 for 34. Against Dallas, 8 for 152.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
And then against Dallas, 6 for 75.
Those are good days aside from the second one, I would say.
The comeback game, of course, 8 for 136 and 3 touchdowns.
Right.
That might be better than Diggs' entire playoff career for the Bills.
Yeah,
right.
Playoffs is a good
and that was with a backup quarterback.
Playoffs makes this a plus in Reed's column.
What's Diggs' biggest moment in the playoffs? Watching the confetti or dropping the pass?
Well, here, right, it would be one of those two.
That's it. Yeah, right. He has
Minnesota.
the Minnesota Miracle, but
that wasn't here.
Minneapolis Miracle. Whatever.
No, Minnesota, you're right. I believe.
Did he have he had 3 big games in the first playoff run, and then it was not much after that. Mm-hmm. Anyways, Reed's number will be retired. Diggs' number will never be retired, I would assume, by the Bills. Maybe there's a Hall of Fame, not Hall of Fame, a Legends Circle conversation down the road, but not number retired.
There's 12 empty plaques.
We know that it's exactly 12.
Someone tweeted that out and said it says reserved for greatness on them.
Interesting. I wonder if they have 12 in mind already for that. Sal's got some pictures from the stadium right now. Very curious to see how many people are going to be in there. It's already starting to fill up. Open practice. We'll hear from Jim Leonard coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. Sal will join the show at 9 o'clock. It's Jeremy and Joe. Jeremy off today. This is WGR.